All right, y'all. So welcome. Thank y'all for joining today. I'm Natalie Tyree. I teach at Western Kentucky University. And today I'm going to be showing y'all how I started a letterpress studio and program at my university. So just a little background. I've been teaching for 9 years. Most of that has been here at WKU, six of that specifically for so far. And I've had interest in letterpress before coming to WKU, but it only been my interaction with it only been at like workshops at conferences and little short spurts, nothing like long term. So when I first came to WKU, they were like, "Oh, hey, there's this press in a building, but nobody wants." Of course, it's always in a basement, right? And about 6 to 8 months later, we were able to sweet talk our facilities folks into hauling that over to our Fine Arts Center to the fourth floor, where the CMP then got put into what was someone's old faculty office, which is now our small but mighty letterpress studio. So thanks to the letterpress community, YouTube, and social media, I was able to source parts and clean and refurbish this press. So that's the press that you see in the image here. That was the first one that we started with. Right. So the why was I interested in this? Well, once we started getting more equipment in there, I realized we had the resources to teach a course. So I wanted to share my love for letterpress and the tactile experience to the students, as well as share the history and the craft of the process. And then particularly for my design students, I wanted to bridge that analog to digital gap because some of them hadn't got to experience this. So building the shop, we started with the CMP. Our most recent press that we've been able to get is a challenge proof press. We actually got that from Brad Vetter. We have the twin. He had two of them, and he decided that he would let one of them go to us. So we'll say that all this equipment and most of everything that you'll see in these images has been funded through grants, mostly grants, and then a couple of donations for folks that just have, stuff in their basement or in their garage that they give to us. So this is when we got the challenge. We got a box truck and then put it in the elevator and took it to the fourth floor. So this is the shop now. You'll see it's a long galley style. It's longer than it is wide. So we've got a narrow space to work within. This is kind of the front half of the shop. And so with the help of student workers, before I started running the course, was able to get things organized and get some storage areas in place, and having a student's perspective on that was super helpful. So this is kind of looking, if you're in the very back, looking towards the door, you can see the challenge down there. We've got type cabinets, composition area, and then in the corner on the far right image, you'll see the CMP. We actually moved it back to the corner. We have a few provisional presses on that gray moving cart, so we can actually move that away so folks can have access to the CMP and have that nice little printing corner. And then you can also, what we've done a lot for festivals and community events is we take the provisional presses and we load them up on the cart and we roll them out and participate in community and student events on and off campus. And so some of the things that we sourced for the shop, a step ladder. I'm short and so are some of my students. So we got a step ladder so that we can access some of that overhead storage, because that's where the majority of our space is up top. And basic tools, a first aid kit, and some baby wipes. So a couple of challenges and timeline is spring 21. I created and wrote the special topics in graphic design curriculum and the syllabus, and that was approved by our university. In fall 22, I pitched the idea to my chair and of offering this course, and she was like, "Yeah, sure, let's run it and see if it fills." So late fall and winter 22 was spent doing research and course prep, and I reached out to the letterpress community for help with this as far as assignment ideas. Logistically, if you don't have a ton to work with, how does that work? How do the students get work done and don't, make sure they have resources and what they need. And then in spring 2023, the course made with 11 total students. So timeline and challenges, I had to promote the course. I had to make sure the enrollment made. And I found out about a month out that special topics courses don't have course fees. So I had to get creative about, hey, how am I going to source this shop and not have the students have to spend a lot of money on supplies they may or may not need later. So I was able to get a small amount of startup funding from my chair. She let us use a little bit of the department budget to buy basic things that the students would need. And then as far as managing space, the organization of it, the flow, and then teaching a design course versus a very hands-on studio course is a completely different mindset. So we did it. It ran. The first week we did shop training, and then it was off to the races. So we started with the volume project where the students printed in teams and layers. So there's 3 different layers, 2 teams. There's a pink layer team, a purple layer, and then they did the last blue layer together. And then we moved on to the coaster project where each of them did a coaster. And these were designed to get them introduced to the challenge press, to introduce them to the CMP, and just to get them printing and get them comfortable in the shop. And then we moved on to everything but the type, where they got to use anything except for the fonts that were in the cabinet. Lots of fun experimental stuff happening here. They really got to see, what can we run in this press? How do we get it type high? What will make a cool print or image? That was really fun to watch them investigate and figure that out. And then lastly was a final self-proposed project. And this is where you got to see the students' interest and personality shine. And this is what they looked like when we hung them up on the wall for critique. And we had everything from stationery to show posters to these like poetry narrative 3-panel things, very detail oriented. And I do want to say that, some of these are tighter than others. Some of them are more textbook than the others. But for me, it's the fact that the students got in, they made something they were proud of, and they learned the process throughout the development of this project. So feedback and takeaways, students really enjoyed the class. It scored mostly 4s and 5s on the student evaluations for the university. And the students felt that the flow of the class and the number of projects worked really well. And over half of them in a raise your hand straw poll, over half of them said they would take the class again. So that was exciting to hear. And I'm super excited to announce that Special Topics in Letterpress, I must have done something right. Special Topics in Letterpress is returning in the spring of 24. So with that said, I would love to connect more and talk about what project ideas you all have. Maybe if you have recommendations on storage in a tight space, and also if you have any ideas for like specialized themed projects or a themed course. I would love to hear more from you all about that and see what ideas y'all might have. And so thank you all so much for listening. I'm just honored and excited to be here with you all. And thanks again for listening.